Wow, man. Talk about pinching. Okay, let's get into this. Let's transition straight from there into this informational video here. What part of your hand, well, its fingers, are actually pressing the frets when you're fretting a guitar is well, ideally the pad of your finger. It's so common for people to use the very, very tips of their fingers, and look at the shoulder here versus here, right? Look at the wrist. Here, pads as much as you can between the strings versus tips. Look at the wrist. Pads, tips. Pads, tips. Okay, so you want your wrist to be at a good angle to where it's like you're just pinching like this. You don't want to be doing this because that's not how your hand actually works. Now, it's kind of awkward because you need to get your fingers between the frets or between the strings so that you're not muting the other strings with your fingers. But you want your shoulders to be in a good position and your wrist to be in a good position, and you just want to kind of like pinch. And you're not going to be pinching with the tips of your fingers. If you're ever pinching anything with your hand, it's just not going to happen. You use your pads together. So when you're fretting notes, you want to try all that you can to keep your fingers at a good like angle, like this, to where your wrist is then as neutral as it can be rather than like clear up here. See that? So big things that are going to allow that to happen is, well, the way that I string guitars, and you can go find out how I do that I have my video titled Full Nylon String Guitar Setup, and then I'll do a whole stringing video once I get strings that are on their way. We're having them shipped here, and I'll do a stringing video, and you can check that out as well, because the way that I string guitars allows your hand to just work well in line, and a lot of reasons why people are using so much of the tips of their fingers to fret guitars is because they're trying to like really hold that string in place. And on the tip of your finger, then you can move it either way to kind of adjust. But if you're like here, you're kind of pushing it toward the center. And if you're over here, you're kind of pulling it towards the center. But that's how we want to be using our hand, nice and in line with the pads of the fingers. So check out how I string guitars. Really, the point is we start from the outside over here and the outside over here. These three versus these three, if you can tell that, the way that they're wrapped. And then on this side, everything's pulling toward the outside of the guitar evenly. Okay, and that's going to allow that to happen, but you want to be using as much as you can. Yeah, I mean, you can see where like the indentations are on my fingers. They're not like clear on the very tips. It's a little bit this way, meaning a little bit more toward the center of the pad of my finger, because that's where you're going to actually have grip strength. So you're doing a bar chord like I started this out with, and you want to be kind of like this, not like this. You don't want to be on the very tips because the shoulder moves. The wrist is getting so much tension here rather than as much on the pads as you can. The wrist will just work with all the muscles pulling as close as we can get them to their natural position rather than like altering its natural position to do something on the tips of the fingers, because you just would never be doing something with the tips of your fingers in life. You'd be doing it with the pads of your fingers. So one other thing that's going to really allow that is make sure, I know that my fingernails aren't free of dirt, but make sure that your nails go to the end of your fingers to support them completely. Otherwise, you're altering just the whole workings of your hand traveling through the rest of your body, and there's just going to be no support from, that's one of the main functions of your fingernails is to support your fingers. And so there's going to be no support there to just allow pinching to happen. So you're just going to get cramped up. You're going to have things be in positions they would never naturally be in, and it's just going to be hard to play as well. So yeah, when you play guitar, do all you can to use the, like I'm saying, the pads of your fingers. So your fingers will they'll either be like in line or a little bit back even when you're doing fretting notes, because if you're like this, now there's like this weird bend in them that's trying to push, and you're pushing your finger against nothing, right? But if it's more like this, now you're pushing against like the rest of your finger, if you can see that. So you're not just like pushing it away from itself, you're pushing it like into itself, if you can tell what I'm saying. So this is In the Image Clothing Company music. It's a little bit different than just somebody trying to tell you some kind of opinion or something. I know the human body in great depth, right? I have this whole company, In the Image Clothing Company, where the whole focus is to allow the body to work. We do it mostly through clothing, but then everything we do in our lives, it's our bodies that are doing them. So me being a fingerstyle guitarist as well, everything that I approach a guitar with, I have a lot of knowledge to share of how to allow the body to work the only way that it does. So, okay, try to do everything you can. I know I've said it a couple times, but I'll reiterate one more time to use the pads of your fingers when playing a guitar. So your picking hand, same thing. The pads of your thumbs. You don't want to be out here trying to use, like, you'll see classical guitarists going like this, but then you see them walking around and their shoulders are like this. So I'm not judging, but the way the body's skeletal system is positioned, it works here, nice and calmly, like you're just sitting. It does not work here. It just doesn't, that's not how your body actually does the only thing that it does. I'm not judging. I've said that twice just to be very clear, because it kind of sounds mean, but I'm not judging. So you don't want to be picking like this. People do this, and that's just so terrible on your whole body. You want to be picking the pad of your thumb, and as much as you can, well, either your fingernail or, yeah, I mean, I guess that's really what it's going to be is, but you see how my finger's like in line when I'm picking? And you'll see so many people picking and their hands so like curled up because there's no support from their fingernail. You just have to have nails. You have to. I'm not telling you something, but you have to. That's the way the body works. That's what they're for. They got to go all the way to the end of your finger. And actually, these two center, this is good to film this right now, because my two middle fingers, the two fingers that are in the center, right, are actually too short, the nails. And I'm kind of waiting for them to grow out. But see, that pointer finger is pretty well to the end, and this pinky is actually a pretty good example of just completely supporting the end of the pinky. That's how your fingernails need to be, all the way to the end. Otherwise, your fingers are altered, your forearms altered, your shoulders altered, then the rest of your entire body is. And then that travels through the rest of your life once you set your guitar down, because you're just training muscles in positions that are not designed to even work, and positions of bones in positions that are not even designed to work. Right? Here, not here. Right? Here, not here. And I know you got to get in between those strings. I mean, I'm a guitarist, I know, but you got to do all you can. And really, all you got to do is just set the instrument up correct and, in a sense, quote-unquote, set your body up correct as far as just allow support from those nails. So, yeah, right? Because see, over here when I'm picking, my fingers are pretty well, like, in line. And that's only going to happen if the thumb can also be on the pad. Because if the thumb's trying to use its tip, then the fingers are trying to curl, and then now you're like, right, classical guitarists, bro, they're like, I can't even begin to try to do that. That literally cramped me that quick. I'm not joking. Because it's your wrist, neutral wrist is out from your pinky, like this, right? Like you're just laying your hand on something, I mean your arm, all the way out to your hand. And so that neutral wrist is here. You're never going to get a neutral wrist doing what these classical guitarists are doing up here. You're training muscles in terrible, terrible positions. When you can see things moving in there, they want to move here, where everything's in line, not I don't do it like this, so I don't know exactly how to do it, but you'll see them like, that is so terrible for your body. You want to just be, well, like look at my shoulders, right? I mean, you just want to be sitting, as if I'm just like sitting here and my body's just working normal. Now I just put my hands on the guitar and, right? I don't know. I mean, when I say I don't know, I just, I have a little thing about like saying this kind of stuff sometimes because there's people who have been playing guitar for decades, and they've probably been doing it in different positions and, you know, different ways, and maybe shorter nails, or, you know, they string it different. And I'm sitting here telling you, like, seriously, this is the only way the body actually works. This is the only way you're going to actually do this without ever having to do any kind of mobility or stretching to your fingers and hands and stuff. And it's not an opinion. And I know there's so many people out there just kind of like throwing things out, pushing opinions, thinking they know what's right. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not doing that. So that's why it's kind of like, I almost don't even want to say it because people are just going to kind of brush it off or think I'm just trying to make some kind of claim. Don't. If you want your body to work. You don't got to listen to me at all, but try it and you'll just know the truth. And that's what we talk about within In The Image Clothing Company when it comes to the like clothing that we wear, and, you know, keeping it centered and just allowing it to work for the body and allowing the body to work. That's what I say. Don't believe me on nothing, but try what I'm saying because it's just the way to do it. The human body only does what it does. And you'll just see people playing guitars in positions that are just not natural, and you'll see it in their face. They're kind of like this, like all zoned out, you know. You'll see it in their shoulders position. It's all weird, and stiffness. Yeah. Body just only does what it does. So, okay. Thank you. It's the 27th of December, 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This is how to actually use your fingers when playing a guitar, because it's the same with everything in life. It's the pads, not the tips. It's the pads. Okay? Thank you.